Yo, what is going on guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's been quite a bit of time since I've said that. Well, I'm sorry guys, it's been a bit difficult to make videos recently, but today we're back attempting to beat Pokemon Emerald with only a water, Monotype, Hardcore, Nuzlocke challenge. Just quickly before we continue, I want to say that we keep coming within a very reachable distance of 3.1k subscribers, so if you're new to the channel and you find yourself enjoying the content, smack that big red button. I will love you indefinitely. Anyways, back to the video. So for those of you who don't know what this challenge is, I'm going to explain some stuff, and for those who don't need an explanation, feel free to skip ahead to the number on screen. Let's get into the rules. So for this run, I can only use water type Pokemon. I'm not allowed to overlevel any of my Pokemon, I can't use any items in battle, and I must change Pokemon battle style to set. I also can only catch the first water type I see on each route. I can't catch a species I already own, or an evolution of one of them either, and if a Pokemon faints, then it's classed as dead and can no longer be used in the run. Now here's where things get tricky. There is not a whole lot of variety when it comes to water types in the home regions, so if enough Pokemon faint, I'll need to restart, which will be a very big problem. Though I have also given myself a limit of 2 BS save resets. It's a water type challenge, so you probably guessed it, yes, I chose Mudkip. I decided to give him a nice nickname like Mr. Kippers. I changed my battle style to set, and then I headed up to Route 103 for the first rival battle of the run. We got through the first rival fight pretty easily as you'd expect, got our Pokeballs, and it was time for the challenge to start, so the first thing I did was, after this, I went straight back up to 103, and I caught myself the first water type I found on the route, which was a Wingull. I called the Wingull Bills. After this I headed on to Route 102 and caught the first water type I found there, which was a Lotad, and I named our Lotad Pizza. Now these three are the only 3 water types I can actually get until after the first gym, because the next one I can get is with the Old Rod in Dewford City. Eventually, after a lot of training, Lotad evolved into Lombre and he was finally ready to take on Roxanne. We took down Roxanne very easily. It was Lombre's Bullet Seed, taking down the first Geodude, then the second Geodude, and then 3 more Bullet Seeds from the Lombre was enough to get us a win and earn us our first badge. And this allowed us to now travel to Dewford City, where we obtained an Old Rod and could finally capture a new ally to our team. This new ally was a Magikarp, of course, that we decided we was going to nickname Fish. Gyarados was definitely going to be a Pokemon that I was going to need to beat the game. We currently had a level cap at level 19, so I was training up all my Pokemon, and during this Mudkip evolved into a Marshtomp, and eventually we was ready to take on Brawly. This fight really went a lot differently than I ever planned. It was a very sloppy fight where luckily any mistakes and misses were not punished. I didn't even mean to have Lombre up front in my party for this fight. Then at some point I switched into a Focus Punch from Meditite, and also Wingull missed the Supersonic at a very crucial part too. It was Wingull just getting a critical hit on a bulked up Makuhita being the only reason we actually won this fight. Honestly, I'm appalled with how this battle went. We got really lucky. That fight really could have and probably should have been a lot more devastating than it was. If you was to ever ask me which fight I hated most in Pokemon Emerald, this would definitely be one of the first answers that springs to mind. Also, it was only capped to level 20 for this one too, so try not to level up too much between Dewford and now was a very slight problem. We managed to do it though, and headed into the May fight, hoping for some good fortune. After 4 tackles from Marshtomp, we managed to take down May's Wingull before we'd switch to our own Wingull for Grovyle to try and get a super effective advantage. Oran Berry in this fight, probably not for the first or the last time of this video, saving one of our Pokemon. This was enough for Lombre to switch in and pick up the pieces to take down Grovyle, and also finish the rest of the fight for us as he also took down May's Slugma. 3 Nature Powers was all that it took for us to win the fight, as we then headed up to Morville City. On Route 117, we caught ourselves a Marill, the 4th member of our team that we nicknamed as Radar, and I would prevent from evolving until level 21. Due to this, Marill would learn Bubble Beam 3 levels earlier than its evolution, and I trained all my Pokemon to the cap of level 24 before heading into the Watson fight. I knew that having Marshtomp on our side meant this gym was not going to be a worry though, sweeping Watson's entire team without breaking a sweat and earning our 3rd gym badge. I just want to also address that levelling up above the level cap during the capped fight is not classed as overlevelling. With Watson defeated, our level cap now boosted up to 28, so I trained in preparations for Flannery, Wingull evolving into Pelipper during all of this before we went into our first battle with Team Magma's leader, Maxi. With all the levels that we currently was, Maxi will be enough EXP for some of our Pokemon to reach our Flannery cap, taking down his team with little problem but nothing consequential. Pelipper struggled a little but overcame both Mightyena and Zubat before Marshtomp would take over and defeat Camerupt. And now it was time to take on the 4th gym. I've always had a tactic to sweep Flannery easily. Usually I would do this with a Geodude or Graveler. It was a pretty risky option, but the risk paid off very nicely as Azumarill tanked a magnitude 10 and swept through the entire gym team with only the use of rollouts. The next fight was Norman, and just like the Route 110 May battle, I hate this fight so much. I had a plan though that I hoped would work, and also decided it was time to train up and evolve Fish into a Gyarados, a Pokemon I had been too lazy to train up to the level caps throughout the game until now, because I knew I was not going to win this gym fight without Intimidate. After training everybody up, we was ready to take on Norman. So my plan for Norman was I was going to go in with Gyarados to use Intimidate, 2 Dragon Rages to take down Spinder, and now for Vigoroth it's got a little more than 80 HP, so I switch over to Mr. Kippers, switch back to Fish, and I use Dragon Rage, Tackle, then Dragon Rage, as this will be enough to take down the Vigoroth without triggering any Hyper Potions. So Vigoroth goes down, and that's Noon, so I switch over to Radar, and I take it down with the use of Rock Smash. A couple Rock Smashes and lowering its defense while my Berry activates, we take down Linoon, and now it's time for slacking, and my plan here is to Toxic and Protect Stall it till it dies. So I switch to Bills, and I go to do my strategy, and I realised that I forgot to teach Toxic before the fight. So anyway, I decided to try to be creative. I thought maybe I could go for an evasiveness stall. So I tried to double team myself up to 6. And then this is basically what happened. So we start taking down some slacking to HP, he hits us straight away with Yawn, and he hits us also first time with Facade or Facade or... And at this point I knew we were screwed. There was no way we was going to win this fight now. There was not a chance because I also knew about the Citrus Berry which just got activated, and also Norman still had 2 Hyper Potions left. Because of losing this, I activated my first save reset of the run. So he's back, and I taught Toxic this time, so he's just going to do the exact same thing again. We took down a Spinder with 2 Dragon Rages, then I switch out to Mr. Kippers, I switch back to Fish, and I hit Vigoroth with the Dragon Rage, Tackle Dragon Rage, which will be enough to take him down, and all I need to do is just get past Linoon with Azumarill before taking on Slacking with Pelipper with my strategy of Toxic and Protect. So we make it through, and now it's time for Slacking. Bills comes in, and we go for our Protect and Toxic strategy. So every time he's loafing around, we'll hit him with an attack, and every time he's allowed to attack, we'll Protect. And we basically just stall him out like this. So I always seem to make the mistake of, after a heal, I Protect, which always leaves me very vulnerable to an attack. So we made a few mistakes in this fight and we was luckily not punished. The Toxic taking down Slacking into its red life being what actually saved us, because Norman, instead of attacking us on his turn when he was free, used a Hyper Potion again. I also made the same mistake again on the very next turn, but because Slacking's HP was so low, he couldn't survive Toxic, which won us our 5th gym badge. So due to beating Norman, we got Surf and could finally catch more Pokemon for the run, starting off with a Carvanha in the ocean between Morville and the route to Fortree. We went and nicknamed our Carvanha as Baby Sharp and moved on. I could have tried to look for a Feebas on Route 119 too, but 100% I knew it was not going to be the first encounter we found on the route, so I didn't even bother, and I just went straight into the next rival fight. And this, in my opinion, is definitely one of the most easiest battles in the game. Gyarados taking down the Slugma first hit, then taking down the Lombre the first hit straight after, and then lastly 2-shot in a Grovyle so we could continue on up to Fortree and take on Winona for the 6th badge. So it was time for Winona, we went straight into the battle. I led with Fish against a Swablu, and I went for Strength. Used it 2 times, it took down the Swablu, and now Trophius was next, so it was Dragon Rage, Strength and Dragon Rage, and this way we can dodge them using a Hyper Potion to heal up. And now Pelipper was out, so I was going to switch to my own here because Bills knows Shockwave, and Shockwave is super effective on Pelipper. Well, 2 times super effective on Pelipper. They used the Hyper Potion, it survived again, we took it down, and next up was Winona's Skarmory. Now Winona's Skarmory again was just a Shockwave spam till it dies. It went down into red HP, got Hyper Potioned, and we just repeated and took it down. Now lastly it was time for her Altaria, and now I switched for some reason here to Mr. Kippers, and I forgot how bad the moveset actually was for Marshtomp. For some reason its moveset was awful. I realised this now, so I knew I was going to have to switch out because there was no way I was taking down Altaria. And I went for Radar because I know that Rollout was going to eventually do enough damage. Now, this is 2 Dragon Dance boosts Earthquake, and we actually survived that. So I was very impressed with that. Radar took it down, and Baby Sharp also reached level 30 and evolved. Baby Sharpie do 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 do, Sharpie do 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 do, Baby Sharpie do 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 do, Baby Sharp. So I was in the Team Magma's hideout and was taking on a Graveler, which took Mr. Kippers up to level 35. I then went into my bag and I used my rare candy to take Mr. Kippers up to level 36, and this evolves him into Swampert. Now we was going to need Swampert possibly to take on Maxie in the next fight. So we got our Swampert, and then we went and spoke to Maxie and got into the fight with him. Now these fights with Maxie I really do not like, especially with all the confusions. So we got really lucky to not take a lot of damage from all the swaggers and all the confused raids in this fight. And all this different stuff. So I went and switched into Gyarados here, trying to take down Crobat through the use of a few Dragon Rages. It wasn't going as greatly as I wanted this fight to go either. But I knew I was going to have to switch because I don't want to lose Gyarados at all in this run. And luckily, Bills was able to take down the Crobat, which just left Camerupt left. I knew I was going to one-shot this with Surf, so I took it down very easily. And that was Maxie defeated. Next thing to do from here was to fight Tate and Liza to get my 7th gym badge. Now this team is not really a gym fight that I'm worried about fighting. We managed to 2-shot both Claydol and Exeter. And then next came out Lunatone and Solrock. Now, Sharpedo manages to take down Solrock with just a crunch, but the Confused Ray starts damaging Fish quite a bit, so we start taking down Lunatone, chipping it down its HP, and this time, before they could use a full restore on the next turn, Fish breaks out of confusion and takes down Lunatone with a Hydro Pump. Then in the Moss Deep Space Center, we team up with Steven to take on the Admin Grunt and to take on Maxie for our 3rd and final battle. So in here we take down a Camerupt very easily, and Metang honestly helped us a lot. See, what I don't like about this fight is it's very swagger and Confused Ray spamish. But that actually helped us quite a bit, I feel, for at least Metang anyway, because when it did strike some hits, they were very powerful. He managed to take down a Mightyena, he takes down the Golbat as well, while we break out of confusion, and we hit Mightyena with a Dragon Rage, taking him down. So lastly we had Camerupt and we took that down, and then it was time for Crobat. I had to switch it because I was quite worried about losing Fish still, so in came Baby Shark. Aggron protected itself and we went for a Slash. We went for a Slash again and Aggron finished it off with a Thunder. I think if we didn't have Steven's help in this fight we probably would have lost as well. Well, at least lost some team members, that was very good. And then it was time for Archie. So Archie again is a bit of a spammy kind of person with swagger and Confused Ray, so I don't like fighting Archie either, but we managed to take down his Mightyena with Swampert's Earthquake, and then Crobat came out. flinching us, I think, there with Air Slash. So we decided to stay in because he used a full restore. Mr. Kippers took down the Crobat, and then we just Shockwave spammed and took down the rest of his Pokemon. So Archie was defeated. He went and sent Kyogre out to Sootopolis City to fight with Groudon, and we go get Rayquaza to split them up, which now lets us fight against Juan. So beating Juan would get us the 8th gym badge. We took down Love Disc with a Crunch and a Slash, and then started going for Crunches on Wishcast. Now for some reason I think they're special in this game, so I started going for Slash after. We took down Whiscash, and now it's time for Celio. 2 Crunches was enough, but he also paralysed us during this, so we hit second, and we also hit second here as well. It was time to switch out. We were going to eventually lose Baby Sharp otherwise, so I switched to Mr. Kippers, took down Crawdaunt, and it's Kingdra. A big critical hit took this to very low HP. Sadly it wasn't one-shotted, but 2 shots took down Kingdra after, and we won the 8th gym badge. Next in Victory Road, we was up against Wally. Now Wally is not a trainer for me to worry about, in my opinion anyway, so I went with Crunch, I went with Slash, and that was it. Took down Altaria, and then next came out Roselia, so I switched over to Fish. Fish went for a Strength and got a critical hit, taking it down. Now I knew Magneton was going for Thunderbolt here, so I switched to Mr. Kippers, dodged that attack. Earthquake, 1 shot, took down Magneton. Delcating next, Earthquake, it was almost enough, so I went for a Muddy Water after, finished that off, and now it's time for Gardevoir. I went for an Earthquake, and then I went for another Earthquake, and that was Wally finished. After we finished Evergrande City, I started going back to fight Gabby and TY so I could level up the rest of my Pokemon to our new level cap. During training up to our level cap, Lombre grew to level 49, which meant he learnt Hydro Pump. So then it was time to evolve him, so I went and got the Water Stone, and I turned Pizza into a Ludicolo. I decided that before I was going to take on the Elite Four, that I wanted to level up a few of my other Pokemon too. This didn't actually go so well though, my Barboach dying to a Magnemite and a Roselia taking down both my Safil and my Wailmer, both in the same fight, so instead of doing this I went back to focus on my main 6 that I already had. And then just a little more training after this, and we decided it was time to take on the Elite Four. Now one mistake I made before entering the Elite Four was that I forgot to go get Dragon Dance on Gyarados. This could be really bad, so I switched to Pelipper anyway and just had to go for it because there was no turning back now. 2 Flies took down the Cacturn, Absol come out, and I quickly switched over to Mr. Kippers. Mr. Kippers took down the Absol with 2 Earthquakes, the Citrus Berry stopping Sydney from using his Hyper Potion, and now Swagger came along, and again I'm not a fan of his move. We were getting a bit done over by it. Eventually though we managed to take down Shiftry whilst on low HP, so I had to switch again. There was no way I was able to keep myself in. I want to switch to Pizza here because Pizza could use Bullet Seed and get that super effective attack on him. 2 turns of using Bullet Seeds, took down Sydney, and we won the fight. So I started healing up all my Pokemon real quick. I wanted everyone to be on max HP before the next fight of course, as we went and took on Phoebe. Now Phoebe is a pushover honestly. Baby Sharp managed to sweep this entire team just using Crunch. Dusclops was down from a few Crunches, Bayonet was one-shotted by a Crunch, Sableye was taken down through the use of 2 Crunches. Next came out Dusclops again. We went and 2-shotted that Dusclops again after his Berry, and then the last Bayonet was one-shotted again, taking down Phoebe without breaking a sweat. Now next up for us was Glacier. So I led with Pizza for a super effective advantage, and we tried to 2-shot Celio with Bullet Seed, which thankfully was successful. Next out came Glalie, so I decided to use Bullet Seed, but that Light Screen made our Bullet Seed terribly weak, so I switched for Mr. Kippers, used Earthquake, and then used Earthquake again to 2-shot down that Glalie. Next out was another Celio, so I went back over onto Pizza, and Pizza got frozen. Really not getting the good luck that we wanted this fight, so I went over to Bills instead, and then I realised that Bills was going to get 2-shotted, so I didn't want to risk it, and I went and switched over to Fish. I was unsure what to go for, but I went for Strength, then I decided to go for another Strength, and then we got hit with Attract. I went for another Strength and decided now it was time to switch out. I didn't think the luck was going to continue, so Baby Shark came along, and Baby Shark went for his crunch, and then finished him off with a slash, before then Glacier came out. I went for Radar here because I had a plan. I was going to go for my rollout strategy and take down both Glacier and Wolverine with it. And honestly, it looked like it was going to work. Glacier was going to restore, but I missed. And it screwed us over. I decided at this point I needed Radar to win this fight, so I went back into it trying to recreate the exact same strategy, but twice now Celio did not go down to 2 bullet seeds. So it was a lot lower life with Pizza than we wanted. We had no more save resets left now, so we couldn't afford for it to turn bad because otherwise we'd have to reset the entire game. And when it looked like it was going to go bad again, Mr. Kippers came in with a critical hit on the Glacier. He 2-shotted the Celio. And then the next Glacier came along and he critical hit this one as well. We had some crazy looks. We was just critical hit as well. And it was about to go down to hail, but because we leveled up, we managed to survive this with 1 HP, which was insane. We had to win this now. There was no way. So I wanted to switch back over to Radar, and I decided this was the perfect time to go for the rollout combination to take it down. Radar came out. We managed to very luckily dodge a sheer cold. We went for our rollout. We got paralysed, and luckily as well, paralysed did not stop us, and we took down Glacier. So next up was Drake, and I knew that if I wanted to get for this fight I was going to need some insane luck, so I went with a strategy of going with Swagger and then Crunch, and luckily Shelgon actually took itself down through confusion. I went for it again as well on Altaria, and it was looking like it was going to work. It was working, and we actually took down both of them very easily. Next up was Kingdra. I just thought, why not go for the same strategy again, so I went for it again. And this time Kingdra actually hit us. Now because this is one of the second to last fights, I took the risk here and stayed in the fight, and for some reason Swagger and Confusion decided to protect us and we never went down. I wasn't going to keep testing my luck though. I switched here to Swampert and I decided to try to take down Flygon in Muddy Water. It didn't work though because we missed the first chance, so then I decided I was going to switch to Fish. Fish's Waterfall here was going to be a good enough move to take down the Flygon, and so it was. Now it's just Drake Salamence left against my entire team. So I went and chose Peter because just before this fight, I went and taught myself Ice Beam in preparation for this moment. And it froze him, but the berry activated and put him just enough health so that Drake did not restore. We managed to take down Drake Salamence. Honestly, I think one of the RNG gods was looking over me in that fight. So now I just went to heal all my Pokemon, and it was time for the final fight of the run. Now this fight, honestly, it does not matter if a Pokemon goes down. I still don't want him to go down, and I definitely do not want to lose, but I'm not as worried. So you go in there and I Toxic the Wailord, and I realise it wasn't really the best of ideas. I go for Swagger on it after to try out strategy, but Double Edge takes down Baby Sharp. So I'm a bit worried a little here, but Wailord gets into enough HP that Earthquake can take down. And then next up was Ludicolo. So I switched out for Mr. Kippers to dodge a double super effective attack, and then used Strength on Ludicolo. And then I went for a second Strength, and this time it done a critical hit and managed to take him down. Tentacruel was next, and I switched to Mr. Kippers. He hit me with Toxic, unfortunately, and then I hit him with an Earthquake, which took him down first try. Whiscash was next, and I switched out to Pizza. I went for my Bullet Seed combination for a double super effective attack, and it almost took him down first time. Wallace then restored, and he used Amnesia as well, so he was a lot more bulkier to this attack. But a lucky Bullet Seed helped us take down the Whiscash with 2 attacks of the Bullet Seed. My low tip then came out after, and I went for Bullet Seed again. And honestly, it didn't do as much as I was predicting, so I decided it was time to switch, and I went for Bills, and Bills just got took down with ease, so I changed to Mr. Kippers, and I survived on 6 HP and went for Earthquake. Toxic took me down though, so now it's time for Fish. I sent out Fish, and went for a Strength, and I got another lucky critical hit to take him down, and now it's down to Wallace's last Pokemon, his own Gyarados. There was no way he was going to lose now, I knew he was going to win. A Hyper Beam took down my own Gyarados, and now it's Radar going for the rollout strategy. We missed though, which was insane, And then Hyper Beam put us down to 11 HP and we just about overcame Wallace. Which means that we've completed the challenge and finished the run. I've had a lot of fun playing this, and hopefully you've all enjoyed watching my Can You Beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Water Monotype Hardcore Nuzlocke challenge just as much. Make sure, if you have, that you leave a like on the video, leave a comment too if you've enjoyed, as it helps out my channel massively, and I'll see you all in another video very soon.